The story begins on a quiet suburban morning in an upscale neighborhood where the manicured lawns and pristine sidewalks usually suggest calm order. In this particular community, homeowners are familiar with one another, though cliques and unspoken biases often define how neighbors interact. In the center of it all lives Commander Marcus Hill, a tall, composed, reserved black man who has spent over 2 decades serving his country as a decorated Navy officer. Despite his stoic presence, he is a figure of both mystery and intimidation. To those who barely know him, to his neighbors, he is simply the polite man who keeps to himself, works out early in the morning, and drives a dark SUV with military plates. Few, however, understand the depth of his service history, covert missions, leadership under fire, and a reputation among peers as a man whose name carries both respect and fear in military circles. On this morning, Marcus is inside his home, reviewing paperwork for an upcoming transfer. His life outside the Navy is measured and controlled. What he does not anticipate is that a pair of men dressed in mock police uniforms, claiming to be part of the neighborhood's HOA enforcement team, are preparing to confront him under false pretenses. They are not actual officers, but imposters, men driven by prejudice, resentment, and the belief that their fabricated authority will intimidate anyone they target. They have chosen Marcus not for legitimate violations, but because of whispered complaints, their own biases, and an undercurrent of hostility toward his presence in the neighborhood as the 2 imposters approach his door. Their demeanor is rehearsed, but sloppy. Their badges are plastic replicas, their shirts slightly mismatched, and their belts holding gear that doesn't quite sit right. Still, they carry themselves with the arrogance of men convinced they will not be questioned. They knock hard, announcing themselves as HOA police and stating they are there to arrest Marcus for non-compliance with neighborhood rules. Inside, Marcus raises an eyebrow. He has heard of HOAs issuing citations, fines, even lawsuits, but never arrests. His years in intelligence have taught him to detect deceit in voices, and immediately, he recognizes the cracks in their performance. He opens the door calmly, standing tall, but silent for a moment, letting them speak. Their words spill out fast accusations about supposed unpaid fees, threats of jail, talk of authority and power. Marcus listens, but his expression remains unchanged. The imposters, unaware of who they are addressing, grow more aggressive, mistaking his stillness for fear. They demand he step outside and submit to handcuffs. One even rests his hand on a baton in a mock show of force. Marcus does not move. His eyes narrow slightly, his military bearing radiating through his posture. In that silence, the imposters begin to feel a shift. Something in the air changes, though they cannot quite define it. Marcus finally speaks, his voice low, steady, and commanding, the kind of tone forged through years of giving orders in war zones. He asks for identification, badge numbers, jurisdictional authority. He asks them to state under which law they are attempting to detain him. The imposters stammer, offering vague replies. His questions cut sharper with each word, dismantling their flimsy cover. What they do not realize is that Marcus has already scanned their appearance, their fake patches, the inconsistencies in their speech. His military training makes him alert to every detail, the weight of their belts, the lack of proper insignias, the nervous flicker in their eyes. He knows within seconds that these men are frauds. But Marcus is also calculating. He could physically overpower them in an instant. His combat record is filled with moments of swift, decisive action, but he chooses restraint. His goal is not only to protect himself, but also to ensure that the truth of this encounter is undeniable. As the imposters escalate, neighbors begin peeking through blinds and stepping onto porches. Whispers ripple through the street. Some are curious, others are quietly complicit, expecting Marcus to comply. The imposters, emboldened by the audience, demand once more that Marcus step outside. Instead, Marcus takes a slow step forward, his presence alone causing the men to instinctively back up. His voice sharpens, and he warns them that impersonating law enforcement is a federal crime, punishable by imprisonment. The impostors chuckle nervously, still clinging to their bluff. But cracks are widening in their confidence. Then comes the moment that shifts the balance completely. Marcus states his full title: Commander Marcus Hill, United States Navy. The words land with weight. He does not boast or raise his voice. He delivers the statement like a fact etched in stone. For the first time, the impostors falter visibly. The neighbors gasp, some murmuring in surprise. They had no idea of his military rank. Marcus continues, explaining that he has spent his career identifying threats to national security, interrogating enemies, and defending his country. His gaze is unflinching, his tone chillingly direct. He informs them that they have exactly 3 minutes to explain themselves before he calls federal authorities and files charges. The impostors attempt to recover, but their bravado is gone. They mutter excuses, trying to claim it was a misunderstanding. Marcus does not move. He allows the silence to grow heavy, watching them squirm. His training has taught him patience under pressure, and he knows that silence can be as powerful as action. The men finally retreat, stumbling over their words, backing away toward their vehicle. Neighbors film with their phones now, recording every moment. The so-called HOA cops realize too late that their performance has collapsed publicly and irreparably. Marcus does not chase them. He does not need to. Instead, he calls the local police department, calmly reporting an incident of impersonation, an attempted unlawful detainment. His voice is controlled, precise, and factual, as if delivering an after-action report. Within minutes, real officers arrive, and the impostors are intercepted before they can leave the neighborhood. The contrast between the impostors' shoddy appearance and the professionalism of real law enforcement becomes immediately apparent. Arrests are made on the spot. As the neighborhood watches, Marcus remains composed, does not gloat or celebrate. His focus is on ensuring that the legal process is carried out correctly. The officers, recognizing his name and military status, treat him with deep respect. The impostors, now handcuffed and visibly shaken, finally understand the magnitude of their mistake. They had tried to intimidate a man whose life has been built on discipline, fearlessness, and authority. In the aftermath, the neighborhood reckons with its assumptions. Some neighbors who had quietly judged Marcus by his race and quiet demeanor now confront the truth of their bias. Others approach him with apologies, though Marcus accepts them with reserved courtesy. He is not seeking validation. His service, his discipline, his character have long defined who he is. The event becomes a sobering lesson in perception that prejudice and arrogance can blind people to reality, and that true strength often resides in silence until it must reveal itself. Marcus returns to his routine in the following days. He continues his morning workouts, his quiet evenings at home, and his preparations for future deployments. Yet the neighborhood is forever changed. Those who once whispered about him now speak of him with respect, even awe. The story of the impostors spreads beyond the community, picked up by local media as both a cautionary tale and a dramatic confrontation. The headline captures it succinctly. Fake HOA cops tried to arrest black man. He turned out to be a decorated Navy commander. For Marcus, the incident is just another test of patience, another demonstration that strength is not about loud threats or empty authority, but about calm, presence, discipline, and the quiet power of truth. The impostors, meanwhile, face the reality of criminal charges and the humiliation of having underestimated the very man they sought to intimidate. The real story resonates beyond the neighborhood. It becomes an example of how easily false authority can be exposed by genuine composure, and how dangerous assumptions can lead people into situations far beyond their control. For those who witnessed it firsthand, the image of Marcus standing silently, unshaken, as impostors crumbled under their own lies, remains unforgettable, a reminder that sometimes the most feared person in the room is not the loudest, but the calmest.